After a whirlwind 6-month courtship, Jim and Kate Nicholson married with hopes for a happily ever after life. However, fate had a different plan, as within a year, Kate's father died, and her family's Lismacue estate passed into the couple's care. While Kate moved to her family's homestead, Jim continued on in law school in Dublin, traveling to Lismacue on the weekends. Despite all the obstacles, the couple were dedicated to establishing their life at the historic estate, and all seemed manageable, until the Taxman came calling. Did you think all the time that you would eventually live here someday? Did you?
Someday, but certainly not that quickly.
And how old were you then?
I was 25 when I took on the place.
I mean, how do you even begin to think about all the details,
The important thing is you wouldn't want to think too much, because then you could have a problem.
Did you have to come here? Could you have made a different choice?
I could have made a different choice by saying, right, I'll sell it, I don't want to be there. But that never occurred to me. I always wanted it. And I was quite happy to go for the challenge to work hard and do it. But we were lucky. There were a lot of people who were working here at the time who were a great help, who gave us great advice on the farm side of things.
At least you weren't thrown into the pot without help.
No, not at all.
No.
The inheritance tax becomes a problem right away?
Within a year.
Within a year.
At that point, do you look at each other and say, okay, we've got to sell?
No, it never occurred to us. It was never a point of discussion. We were almost forced to sell, but we
dug our toes in
we
and said
just
no.
decided, no, we're not going to.
My attitude was that I'd rather try and fail than not try.
How long a time period does it take you to work through the inheritance tax?
Our inheritance tax bill in 1979 was just short of $500,000. Our total debt was $750,000 with the family settlement for Kate's mother. And we had borrowings of $750,000. The interest rates were 22%. We had hoped to sell off part of the lands, but the price of land dropped to half its value between the time we borrowed the money to pay the tax and before we could sell off any land. So we were just unfortunate.
At the beginning of this 6-year time period, was there any thought in your mind that you'd never get out of this hole?
Not in mind, no.
Kate, no?
We said we
were
in it for the long haul.
We were prepared to battle.
Yeah.
And it was a battle.
It was.
How do you end up beating the battle or winning the war?
With resolute determination.
A lot of hard work.
And hard work.
8 years down the road?
Correct.
You fought this battle, and finally the bank cuts you a break and says, all right, we only want this much.
The bank didn't cut us a break. We sold 300 acres.
And paid everything the bank asked you for?
Paid some of it. We were still left with $250,000 debt.
Are you talking American dollars, $250,000?
No, we're talking about pounds.
And is that worse or better? I don't know.
It's a lot worse.
Well, it was at that time. It was about $1 million. The initial bill was about $1 million. We sold 300 acres at $1,500 an acre, which is about $600,000.
Was that painful to do, Kate?
Extremely.
It was. I would like to have been able to keep the place in the parcel of land that I inherited, but that just wasn't to be.
And over and above that, I mean, we've walked this property. It's overwhelming. It's huge. You're 300 acres down. Not a big deal.
Well, it is if you're farming, because for a house this size, you need quite an income. And if you don't have the land, you can't generate the income.
So you get $600,000. You're still $400,000 short in American dollars.
Correct.
How are you going to raise that?
So the bank sue us for the $400,000.
Your friendly hometown banker?
Yes, it was a Dublin friendly hometown banker. We defended it for 3 years. They eventually got judgment against us, an order for possession, an order for sale.
Taking possession of the entire
property,
including the house.
The property, yeah.
On the day you got that, where they said, we're taking the house.
Yeah.
What was the pillow talk that night?
Well, there wasn't any pillow talk, but I was going hunting that day.
Were you a friendly downtown banker?
No, the sheriff. I was going to the opening meet of the local hunt, and I met the sheriff with his team at the gate. And I said, good morning. And he said, we've come to take vacant possession of Lismacue. And I said, well, I'm going hunting. Come back tomorrow.
And can you get away with that?
he was very distressed. So he phoned my solicitor, who phoned me later, and he said, I had the poor sheriff on in a frightful state. He said, I came to take vacant possession of Lismacue. I met Mr. Nicholson all dressed up going hunting. I don't think he knows how serious the situation is. So I said, I know exactly how serious the situation is. This is brinkmanship with the bank.
It's a chess match.
It's a chess match, except that the bank hold both sets of chess players.
What did you think that was going to accomplish? Just stall for time?
What I thought it was going to accomplish was I was determined to hang in there, that I was not going to surrender.
Get away with that day, but you can't imagine that the next day they're not going to be there again.
Well, they didn't come back. Eventually, our accountant met with the bank, cut a deal, they wrote off the interest, and we repaid the capital.
But we had an auction on the 9th of July in 86, and we sold the contents of this room, most of the dining room, and most of next door, the library.
And you came to that conclusion?
Well, I wanted to keep the house. You can replace furniture, but you can't replace a home.
But let's talk a little bit about that furniture. I bet you can't just replace that furniture. It had been in this house for how many years?
Well,
some of it since 1813. It was a deal of necessity. We had to do it. I mean, we had to find the money. We'd done the deal. We now had to find the money to pay to honour the deal.
And you wouldn't sell off any more land? Better the furniture than the land?
And once you sell land, it's rare that it comes back to you.
Is the land, Kate, and Jim, I don't want to leave you out of this, but since it comes from Kate's family, Kate, is the land as important to you as the buildings and the home?
Absolutely.
Tell me about that. Why?
I think it's in everybody in Ireland. Land is very important.
But it's just soil and dirt.
It is, but when it's been in your family for a long time, it becomes part of you. I wouldn't swap this view for anything, because the house is on a height, is stunning. Looking straight out at the Galtee Mountains.
So, Jim, I think people listening will be able to understand Kate's dedication, passion. It's been in her family for 12 generations. You, however, are the new kid on the block.
Correct.
What about this makes it so important to you? Because clearly you played an integral role in the saving of this place.
Kate wanted it. I mean, I'm married to her. I was going to support her. I wasn't going to suddenly say, well, let's sell the lot.
But some men would have.
They might have, but I you know...
That's why I married this one.
It's a team. It's a team.
But you didn't know that when you, after 6 weeks
of... I had a good idea that he was a sound guy.
There was never a question of, are we going to do anything else? It was never even considered. It wasn't even discussed.
In listening to yourselves tell this story, do you hear that or see that as remarkable in any way?
No, not at all.
Because
not at all. We don't see it. We didn't see any alternative.
No.
We didn't
to
see.
us, what else would we have done?
Sold the land and moved on.
No, never.
Irish people don't tend to move on and sell what is referred to as the home place. The land, not necessarily the house, but the land is where you come from and it's part of you.
There's also the connection.
Yeah.
Kate's family are here for 300 years. They have a huge connection with the area. Her grandfather is a veterinary surgeon. He was the first veterinary surgeon to qualify in Ireland in 1904. He did all the local veterinary. There's a huge connection between the Baker family and the surrounding areas that you'd really want to go around and talk to people and meet people and to understand it.
It's remarkable.
It is remarkable, yes.